Star Trek's been really crappy lately, and some would say that that's an understatement. And for all intents and purposes, Star Trek might just be as dead as Star Wars. Thanks a lot, JJ. But aside from all of the hullabaloo about the abysmal state of the franchise, Star Trek Prodigy looks like a return to form, albeit for a younger generation. And I gotta tell you, it ain't half bad. Forget about Discovery, forget about the JJ verse, and forget about the original series, because if you do, you'll wonder where Prodigy fits in within the timeline. And for this show, it really doesn't matter. I can easily see Prodigy fitting within any timeline of the franchise. Think of it this way. If Picard is set after the Next Generation, Prodigy is set after Voyager. How long after Voyager is not known, but the drudgery and stupidity that bogged down the other recent Star Trek shows is not present here in Prodigy. It's actually a very well crafted show with characters that are written exactly how you'd expect them to be written. It isn't trying to shove a square peg into a round hole like Discovery, and it isn't offensive to legacy characters like Picard. This is a Star Trek show that feels like a Star Trek show, and it's been a long time since I've been able to say that. But don't expect the usual technobabble that the franchise has become known for. While it isn't brash and dumb like Discovery or the JJ verse, it isn't as deep as the main series. Prodigy feels like a show that's meant to introduce Star Trek to people who don't understand Star Trek, but it doesn't do away with the things that are quintessentially Star Trek. The series begins with a prisoner on a mining asteroid who finds a Federation starship and escapes with some other prisoners that he enlists for help. Our main character is a wisecracking scoundrel, a cliche that I usually find annoying, and it almost put me off on the entire show at first. The entire cast of characters don't really seem like they'd be a good match for each other, but by the end of the first episode, you become invested in their predicament and really want to see what happens next. Of course, this is a children's show, so the cast is going to be more geared toward a younger audience. So when the big brutish tough guy turns out to be a naive little girl, it can be jarring. But if you can get past that, you'll enjoy the rest of the show. The show is presented in an ultra widescreen letterbox format, and it really gives off the effect that you're watching a movie. The musical score done by Michael Giacchino, paired with the introductory title screen, really feels epic. It's not as iconic as the intros to the Next Generation or Voyager, but you can tell a lot of money was put into the show, and I think it was worth it. As of this review, the show has only released 4 episodes on Paramount+, but so far I'm really enjoying it. I came into the show with low expectations, but I was intrigued by the premise. Thankfully, I was pleasantly surprised. It's expected to have 2 seasons, with the first season on Paramount+, and then shortly after to air on Nickelodeon, and a second season to follow soon after that on both Paramount+ and Nickelodeon. Star Trek Prodigy isn't your typical Star Trek show that you'd expect to see, but I think that's what makes the show work. The characters aren't from Starfleet, they're rough around the edges, and they've never even seen the universe before. Unlike the main franchise, these characters can be written less formally. But here it works because of who the characters are, unlike Discovery where you expect them to be mature adults, but instead they're written like spoiled teenagers. And you don't have to worry about people dropping F-bombs like in Picard. The limitations of a family-friendly rating forces the writers to make Star Trek the right way, as it always was a family-friendly show to begin with. The only real formal writing comes from Catherine Janeway, who is portrayed as the ship's hologram. She teaches the ragtag crew how to fly the ship, and how to become a real crew. She's written very well, and is every bit Catherine Janeway as she ever was. Every time she was on screen, I imagined I was watching a new episode of Voyager, and I think this is why I gravitated toward the show. It doesn't feel like a distant spin-off like Discovery, which felt more like Mass Effect than Star Trek. And it doesn't insult my intelligence and the great characters that I loved in Star Trek Picard. It feels like a spin-off that can comfortably fit within the Star Trek universe, and one that you can relax and be proud of saying that you enjoy. Let's just hope that they don't screw it up, because I finally have a new Star Trek show I can happily watch after so many years of waiting.